Hi kindergarteners, welcome back for more stories. I have 3 new stories for us today. We have The Loose Tooth, we have Follow That Bear, and finally, Little Red Riding Hood. So, we'll read these stories, and then down below there will be some activities for you to do. And now you might have seen our new Seesaw classroom, like virtual classroom. So now any of the activities that you do, you guys can take pictures of them or recordings, and then you can put them to our Seesaw account, and I can get to see them. And you guys can see some of the work that I'll be doing too. So I'll do some of the activities along with you guys, and I'll do my own posts, and then we can kind of see what each other are working on. You can see what your friends are doing, you can see what I'm doing, so that'll be kind of nice. So make sure you go on to the Seesaw classroom. Alright, so we'll start with our first one, Loose Tooth. I wonder what this one is about. Do you have any loose teeth right now? This one is by Stephen Kroll, and it's illustrated by Trisha Tusa. Fangs and Flapper were twins. Everything they did together. When Fangs soared through the night sky, Flapper soared after him. When Flapper read, Fangs read too. And when the other bats played flying football, Fangs and Flapper always joined them. One day in the middle of reading class, Fangs discovered he had a loose tooth. He felt the tooth with his tongue. It was very wiggly. After class, Fangs showed Flapper. Then he showed his friends. "Wow," said Lizzie Lizard, "that tooth's going to fall out any minute." "You'll get lots of money from the Tooth Fairy when it does," said Henry Hawk. Flapper felt around his own mouth. He wanted to have a loose tooth like Fangs, but he didn't have one. At recess, all the other animals crowded around Fangs and his loose tooth. Fangs was delighted. Every time someone came up to look, he did a loop-de-loop around the schoolyard. The whole time Flapper hung from the jungle gym, no one paid any attention to him at all. That night at dinner, the tooth was looser. "Be careful how you bite, dear," said Mom. "You don't want to swallow it, Fangs," said Dad. "I got 100 on my spelling test," said Flapper, but nobody paid attention. They were too busy looking at Fangs. Fangs bit down on a piece of bread. Suddenly, his tooth popped out of his mouth and landed in his soup. Fangs was frantic. "Where is it?" he shouted. "I can't see it." "It's got to be in there somewhere," said Mom. They all flapped around the bowl. Dad stuck in a claw and pulled out a tooth. "Hooray!" shouted Fangs. "Hooray!" shouted Dad. "The Tooth Fairy comes tonight," said Mom. "I bet she's ugly," said Flapper. But no one heard him. After several family swoops around the neighborhood, it was time for bed. "Remember, the Tooth Fairy only comes when you're asleep," said Dad. "I'm going to sleep right now," said Fangs. He put the tooth on the ledge beside him. He went to sleep smiling. Nearby, Flapper hung frowning in the dark. Fangs had been getting all the attention, he thought, and I'm sick of it. I'm going to steal that stupid tooth. Quietly, he flew over to Fangs. Carefully, he slipped the tooth off the ledge. Then he glided gently to the ground. Now where could he hide the tooth? He didn't even have pockets. He flew to the kitchen. Mom was already there. She was mixing the batter for some muffins. Flapper was so surprised to see her, he dropped the tooth. Plop! It fell into the batter. Flapper didn't know what to do. He hid on the ceiling. Mom was so busy working she hadn't noticed a thing. She finished mixing the batter and popped the muffins into the oven. "Oh no," thought Flapper, "the tooth is in a muffin." Mom waited until the muffins were done. Then she flew back to her corner of the cave. Oh no. When Flapper was sure she wouldn't hear him, he glided back to his spot, but he couldn't sleep. Much later, he heard the flapping of wings near Fangs, followed by some grumbling. It must be the Tooth Fairy, he thought, as he finally dozed off. In the morning, Flapper was stretching his wings when he heard Fangs screech. "The Tooth Fairy took my tooth and didn't leave me any money." Flapper shrugged. At breakfast, everyone was confused. "I'm sure the Tooth Fairy came," said Mom. "She probably couldn't find the tooth." "But I left it for her," said Fangs. "Maybe it fell on the ground," said Dad. "It didn't," said Fangs. "I looked." Flapper was much too worried to say anything. He tried 2 muffins. No tooth. At any moment, somebody would... "Ouch," said Mom. She pulled a piece of muffin out of her mouth. It was the missing tooth. "My tooth," said Fangs. "Goodness," said Mom. "How did it get in the muffins?" asked Dad. Flapper wiggled his wings nervously. Everyone looked at him. He knew he had to tell the truth. When Flapper had told the whole story, Dad said, "Fangs, I'm giving you the quarter the Tooth Fairy would have left. But Flapper, I'm giving you a quarter too. We shouldn't have ignored you." Flapper looked at Fangs. Fangs looked at Flapper. "You know what?" said Flapper. "What?" said Fangs. "My tooth feels loose." "It does?" said Fangs. "How terrific. Let's go show our friends." And the 2 of them flew off together. The end. Ooh. Even if you make a mistake, tell the truth and it's okay. It'll be all right. Cool. That's a good story. All right. The next one we have is Follow That Bear. I wonder where the bear is going. Follow That Bear. By Michael Catchpole, illustrated by Vanessa Cabin. One brown bear saw one yellow bee, and one yellow bee saw one brown bear. One brown bear thought, "Where there's a bee, there's honey. Sticky honey, yummy honey, drippy honey, gummy honey. I'll follow this bee as quietly as can be." One yellow bee thought, "Where there's a bear, there's trouble. I'll buzz home as quickly as can be." So one yellow bee buzzed off over the stone wall, followed by one brown bear, as quietly as could be on his softest tiptoes. Buzz, buzz, growl, growl, shh. Two greedy geese spotted one tiptoeing bear. "Aha," they thought, "where there's a bear, there are ripe berries. Ripe berries, juicy berries, plump berries, squishy berries. Let's follow that bear as quietly as can be." So 2 greedy geese followed one brown bear, and one brown bear followed one yellow bee. Buzz, buzz, growl, growl, honk, honk, shh. All going along as quietly as can be. 3 shy mice spied 2 flapping geese. "Aha," they thought, "where there are geese, there's corn. Yellow corn, yummy corn, delicious corn, tasty corn. Let's follow those geese as quietly as can be." Buzz, buzz, growl, growl, honk, honk, squeak, squeak, shh. So one yellow bee buzzed over the bramble bush, and one brown bear followed one yellow bee, and 2 greedy geese followed one brown bear, and 3 shy mice followed 2 greedy geese, all going along as quietly as could be. Then one yellow bee buzzed right into its nest. And 100 yellow bees buzzed out. Uh-oh. One brown bear saw 100 yellow bees, and 100 yellow bees saw one brown bear. "Help!" growled one brown bear. "Where there's a swarm, there must be trouble. I'll run back home as quickly as can be." And off he raced, back through the prickly bramble bush. "Help!" squawked the 2 greedy geese. "The bear is after us!" And off they flapped across the muddy field. "Help!" squeaked the 3 shy mice. "The geese are after us!" And off they scrambled through a crack in the stone wall, until... Growl, ouch, squawk, hiss, squeak, eek, bounce, wobble. Crash! One yellow bee landed on one brown bear, and one brown bear landed on 2 greedy geese, and 2 greedy geese landed on 3 shy mice, and one yellow bee thought, I knew there'd be trouble. The end. That was a pretty good story. They were all following each other. Do you remember what happened in the beginning, the middle, and the end? Can you retell the story to somebody who didn't hear it? It's pretty good. Alright, this last one is going to be Little Red Riding Hood. This doesn't look like the Little Red Riding Hood story that I know. She's got a bicycle. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who lived at the edge of a great prairie, because she always wore a jacket with a red hood, and when she rode her bike, everyone called her Little Red Riding Hood. Now one morning, as Little Red Riding Hood sat eating her favorite Wheat Berry Muffins, she had an idea. "Mom," she said, "it's going to be a real scorcher today. Grandma sure would love it if I brought her some muffins and lemonade. You know how crabby she gets in the heat." Little Red Riding Hood loved visiting her grandmother. "Great idea," her mother said. So Little Red Riding Hood's mother packed the still warm Wheat Berry Muffins and cold lemonade into a basket. After airing up the tires on her bike and testing the brakes, Little Red Riding Hood set out on her way. "Now don't forget," called her mother, "go straight to Grandma's, and whatever you do, don't talk to strangers." "Sure, Mom," Little Red Riding Hood promised. Little Red Riding Hood had pedaled down Toad Road, past the gas station, the feed store, and the old Wilson place, when she waved at everyone she saw, and everyone waved back. As the edge of town disappeared and the prairie began, Little Red Riding Hood zigzagged between the crops, taking the shortcut to Grandma's house. Blackbirds startled, and sunflowers swayed as she whizzed by. "What a nice visit this will be," Little Red Riding Hood said. "Grandma simply adores muffins and lemonade." But who should be cutting through that same field, and up to no good, I might add, but a very hungry wolf. When the smell of those Wheat Berry Muffins came wafting his way, the wolf's nose quivered. "Gadzooks," he whispered, "what is that scrumptious smell?" The wolf rushed toward the heavenly odor. "Whatever it is, I must have it," he growled. With one giant leap, the wolf landed right in front of Little Red Riding Hood's bicycle. "Aha!" he roared. Little Red Riding Hood slammed on her brakes. "Hey, be careful!" she shouted. "You could get hurt surprising someone like that." The wolf chuckled at the warning. "What's in the basket, dearie?" he asked with a wide-toothed grin. "Muffins and lemonade," Little Red Riding Hood said slowly, "for my grandmother." But such a tantalizing smell, the wolf drooled. "They must be very special muffins." "Oh, they are," Little Red Riding Hood said proudly. "They're my grandmother's secret recipe, and they always take first place at the fair." The wolf licked his lips. "She must be a very dear, sweet woman," he crooned. "Do you have very far to travel?" "Oh no," Little Red Riding Hood answered. "Just over that ridge, this side of Turkey Creek." The wolf smirked, his mouth curling up at the corners. "How fortunate." "I have to go," Little Red Riding Hood said quickly. "Grandmother's waiting." The wolf slyly turned in the opposite direction and pointed. "Ooh," he gasped, "what beautiful flowers. Such a dear, sweet grandmother sure deserved some of those." Little Red Riding Hood nodded. "Gee, you're right," she said, jumping off her bike. "Grandma loves flowers. Do you think she'd like these white ones too?" But the whistle of the prairie wind was the only response the wolf was gone. Of course, the wicked wolf had a dastardly plan. "Hardy har har," he laughed wildly as he raced through the wheat. "First I surprise that feeble old granny and steal her recipe. Then I wait for the kid in the red jacket to show up with the treats. Soon I'll hold the secret to those delectable muffins, and those two country bumpkins won't know what hit them." His evil chuckle drifted through the field. When the wolf arrived at Grandma's house, he found a note on the door. "Little Red Riding Hood, out on the field. Love, Grandma." "This'll be easier than I thought," the wolf snarled. "Grandma's obviously off her rocker, wandering around in the heat. Muddled brains are so easy to persuade." The wolf cackled, feeling enormously pleased with his good fortune. But when the wolf searched the fields for Little Red Riding Hood's tottering granny, all he could see was a farmer riding a tractor. Impatient, he shouted, "Hey, old man, where's the ancient granny who lives on this house?" The farmer, though, seemed to hear nothing. "Very well," the wolf said with a snicker. "I love surprising these dim-witted hicks." And he began to silently sneak up behind the tractor. Uh-oh. Then, before the wolf knew what was happening, the farmer whirled around and grabbed him by his fancy suspenders. "Hold it right there, scoundrel," the farmer shouted. "What in tarnation do you think you're doing?" The wolf gasped and stammered. I'm looking for the frail, loony, muffin-baking granny who lives in the house." "Well, Sherlock," boomed the farmer, whose grip tightened on the wolf, "you're talking to her." The wolf's mouth dropped open and he began to shake. My, he finally whispered. "What big eyes you have, Grandma." "All the better to see you skulking around my fields," Grandma answered. "My, what big ears you have, Grandma," the wolf croaked. "All the better to hear you coming," Grandma answered. "My, what big hands you have, Grandma," the wolf groaned. "All the better to crush you like a bug, if need be," said Grandma, and luckily for the wolf, Little Red Riding Hood rolled up just at that very moment. "Grandma, are you okay?" called Little Red Riding Hood. "Sure, sweetie," Grandma said. Together they marched the grumbling wolf to Grandma's kitchen. Grandma lecturing all the way. "Didn't you think there was a Little Red Riding Hood? There might be a big Red Riding Hood? I thought I got rid of bullies like you when I moved away from that forest. Might as well have a bite to eat while we decide what to do next," Grandma said. The wolf was silent, his mouth full of the delicious muffins. "Of course," Grandma said at last. Soon after, Grandma opened her own muffin shop in town, just west of the post office. The wolf, he was her chef-baker, sales clerk, and dishwasher, being kept much too busy to cause trouble for everyone. Naturally, the wolf got to eat all the muffins he wanted, which improved his disposition enormously. But just in case he got any ideas about stealing Grandma's recipe again, Grandma always put in the last secret ingredient herself. Little Red Riding Hood, too, went to work for her grandmother, delivering muffins on her bike. Every day, rain or shine, the wolf carefully packed up Little Red Riding Hood's basket. "Hey, kid," he called after her as she whizzed down the Toad Road. "Don't talk to strangers." And Little Red Riding Hood never did again. The end. And here's the secret recipe to Grandma's muffins. I'll put the recipe down below for the activity today if you want to try to make it, or if you want to try making some other special recipe as well. Alright friends, thank you for joining me for story time. I love you and I miss you, but I hope you're having fun with these stories. I know I am. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Alright? Bye, kindergarten.